Hey there, welcome to the Reinsurance Podcast, the place where we dive into all things reinsurance, the coolest part of insurance. We're your hosts, Jared and Ben, a couple of ex-practitioners who loved the industry so much we founded Supercede to tackle some of its biggest headaches. And we're here to share our insights and stories with expert guests as we uncover what's really going on in the industry.
Welcome everybody back to the Reinsurance Podcast. Delighted to have David Govrin from SiriusPoint with us. How are you, David?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
How's your Monte Carlo going so far? Are you enjoying the cafe to cafe, meeting to meeting craze?
I always enjoy Monte Carlo. It's going well. Extremely productive. This is my 20th or so Monte Carlo, so I have my routine fairly well nailed now. So.
Oh, very, very good. Yeah. And is it more of the same, or any interesting themes coming out this year more than others, would you say?
Well, yeah. So for me, Monte Carlo is, as I said, it's my 20th time. Mm-hmm. So, before getting to themes, it's, meeting up with a lot of just people I've known, friends in the industry for a long time, meeting some new folks in the industry, talking renewals and expectations for 1/1. I think the themes here are, the themes that you're reading in the news. There's a lot about market conditions, right? Yep. I think the three general themes, other than kind of talent and what's going on in the world of talent in the industry, market conditions, geopolitical situation, and technology. And then market conditions is really, when everyone talks about market conditions, they're often referring to property cat.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of sub-markets and subclasses of business. So I kind of think about it as property, casualty, specialty, and then, the themes around those three classes are very different.
Yeah.
Property is largely a question of what's going to happen in Q3 and Q4. As I think we all know, with property, you're always one event away from a different market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the expectations for 1/1 on property are somewhat dependent on what happens over the next couple of months. It's a fairly competitive environment. Casualty is different, right? I think there's probably where you have the most divergent views among reinsurers is casualty, and then casualty is a global market. Typically, people are talking about U.S. casualty, and you have fairly divergent views on U.S. casualty. And then the specialty markets, there's so many sub-markets. You talk about aviation, there's a lot of press on aviation. Aviation's having a rough go of it. And other specialty classes are pretty competitive. So.
Yeah, and I guess in your broad coverage of all of those, it must be a lot to keep up with beyond watching the headlines for whether the fires are raging or the wind is blowing, I suppose. But,
yeah, there's a lot to keep up with. I think the key is I mentioned geopolitical is a topic that comes up. It's impossible, I think, for all of us, right? It's impossible to just go out to dinner with friends, right? Put the industry aside and not talk about geopolitically what's going on in the world. And obviously you have business meetings and it's either discussed or it's the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
And I think what it really highlights is the risk landscape in the world is changing, and it's changing with technology. It's changing with the geopolitical landscape. We're obviously in the business of selling and designing product to address risk. That's what this industry does. And whether it's geopolitical, climate change, technology, the world of understanding and pricing risk is a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of discussions around that, and every company is thinking about how to navigate the market, and the conditions in the market around a changing risk landscape.
Completely, yeah. Perhaps a challenge, perhaps also an opportunity.
It's both. Yeah, no, it's definitely. Look, it's definitely a challenge, as I just said, but it's an opportunity, and we're in the business of selling product to address risk. That's what the industry. That's what we all do, right? Whether you're insurance or reinsurance, and the opportunity is the demand for risk coverage. Is increasing in a very complex world, and that's what this industry is here for.
Absolutely. It was actually one of the other themes that you mentioned as well is obviously talent and the people who have to do that. And we were lucky to attend the pre-Monte Carlo forum where Scott gave a really compelling talk on talent and the future of the industry there. Do you see that as continuing to be the case? 20 years of having these relationships here in Monaco each time. Do you see that needing refreshment, change, or? technology coming in as well.
Yeah, Scott's pre-Monte Carlo talk or presentation was great, and it's come up actually in almost every meeting I've had here,
Oh, that's
where
really
someone was in London
Yeah.
and said we're at that pre-Monte Carlo, and it was really refreshing.
It was.
And it was about culture. It was about all the work that we've done on culture and chasing the 1%, as Scott calls it. You can read the article on his interview on the topic, but I think the topic of talent and culture sort of need to go together, right? So you have to create a company and a culture that people want to work for. The industry has definitely a need to recruit talent and recruit the next generation of talent. And as I said, I've been coming here for 27 years. I've been in the industry for 37 years.
Yeah.
I've been working for 40 years, right? And so we're constantly working on and thinking about that next level. We're hiring great talent. I think the industry is hiring great talent. We need to be attractive as a company and as an industry to young talent entering the workforce. And young talent today, I actually think, if I think about when I graduated university and went to my first job, the work environment and culture never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And I think young talent today, it's actually at the forefront of their mind.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's a reason that we spend all of our time on, not all of our time, but we spend a lot of time on culture. It empowers performance, it empowers people, and I think it creates a really attractive work environment.
Absolutely. Brilliant. And I guess that's something you probably get to talk about whilst you're here. What else do you talk about whilst you're having your many meetings here in Monte Carlo? What's your message from Sirius to the world this year?
I think we talk about a lot of things. It depends on the audience, right? We're here meeting with lots of stakeholders, right? So if you think about our meetings here, we meet with distribution,
Yep.
right? They're core to our business, right? And those conversations are largely around appetite, right? How is our appetite changing? What does our appetite look like for the future? How are we thinking managing the market? We meet with clients. A lot of our clients are here. Similar conversations. We're a large buyer of reinsurance. Remember, we're an insurer and a reinsurer. So
Yeah.
we are wearing two reinsurance hats here. One is a buyer, one is a seller. We meet with all of our reinsurers. We meet with other stakeholders, that are here. And those conversations are similar but different. But a lot of our messaging is really what we just talked about. We're a company that's undergone a lot of change, right? We've dramatically changed the culture in the company, the performance of the company. We're positioned better than we ever have been from a capital perspective. It's reflected in our performance. It's reflected in the talent that we're hiring. It's reflected in our equity price.
Yeah.
And so we spend a lot of time talking about it because we're asked about it, but we're very humble, and we have a lot of humility with respect to where we've come from. So it's more about the future and where are we taking the company, which includes appetite, what are we selling, who are our people, than anything else. But it depends who the stakeholder is we're talking to, but there's a common theme around who is SiriusPoint today.
Yeah.
What does the company represent today? What is the environment, the culture? What do we bring to our clients and customers in terms of responsiveness and our ability to execute? We've demonstrated, I think, a tremendous ability over the last few years to execute. And most importantly, it doesn't matter whether you're talking to me or Scott or Rob Gibbs or anybody else who's here, you should be getting the same theme, the same messaging. And what we hear from everybody is everyone is saying the same thing. You're all stroking together. It's amazing how collaborative you are as a company. One SiriusPoint, we call it. So a lot of the discussions are those topics. Yeah.
Really, really compelling. And I guess turning to the future, I mean, it seems like a very bright path ahead of you. Anything to highlight over the next 12 months or so in terms of things that you're excited about in the industry at large as much as within Sirius?
Well, I'm excited about SiriusPoint, right?
Yeah.
I think that should be coming through loud and clear. As I said, we're humble, but we're proud of what we've achieved, right? So I'm super excited about where we are as a company.
Yeah.
And where we're going as a company. And it comes back to talent, right? So 12 months is a fairly short period of time, right? And so you talk about all the things that we as an industry need to do over the next 3, 5, 10 years, and talk about data and all those types of things. But over the next 12 months, I think continuing to execute what we're executing, being mindful of market conditions, right? There's managing a cycle is very, very important, right? Continuing our financial performance and trajectory, but most importantly, we're hiring people, right?
Yeah.
We're building our talent base, and over the next 12 months, I'm super excited about bringing more great talent into our company.
Brilliant.
And seeing where we can take this. I'm excited about where we're going.
No, super exciting.
Yeah.
And I guess you must get an ever-growing perspective, I guess, with your buying and your selling hats on from the reinsurance world. Any key things you'll be watching out for as the reinsurance market evolves over the next, years, I guess, beyond 12 months?
Yeah. Look, I think it's really just market conditions. At the end of the day, we are taking risk.
Yeah.
And we're pricing for risk, right? Everyone thinks about risk differently. You have to think about risk-adjusted pricing and how you put a portfolio together and how you optimize capital allocation, right? Which is what we do. It's what the industry does. I think a lot of the conversations here are going to be around market conditions, market softening, reinsurers remaining disciplined, right? There's that balance and struggle. I worry a little bit that people misinterpret what the word discipline means.
Yeah.
Right? Because you start to see articles on the market being willing to sell aggregate cover and frequency, other frequency types of covers, or whatever that product is. That does not mean that the market's not being disciplined.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's really, really important to focus on we're here to price risk and satisfy the demands and needs of customers. And where there's an equilibrium, product can be sold. Now, if you start to sell product that's below where you think you need to charge for an adequate return on capital, then you're in trouble. So I think we're in the whole industry. People will look at things differently, but I think it's really all about putting your portfolio together, pricing risk, being steadfast in how you think about return on capital, being transparent with your brokers and customers on how you think about risk, how you price risk, and what your appetite is. And that's certainly where we're heading and how we think about the business.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and a really good way of thinking about that underwriting discipline. Thank you so much for coming on the show, David. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I hope to see you around the rest of the conference.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to the Reinsurance Podcast. If you enjoyed our show, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review to let us know how we're doing, preferably 5 stars. For more insights and updates, follow us on LinkedIn and visit our website at supercede.com/podcasts. You'll find the links in the show notes.